Good evening, Supervisor Russell, members of the Town Board. My name is Bob DeLuca, and I live in East Marion on the Crossway in Pebble Beach. And I also serve as the president of Group for the East End. I've been in that position for 17 years, and for the record, I have a bachelor's in environmental science, master's in environmental science, and I've taught for about 15 years at Long Island University in state and local environmental policy. And prior served as a biologist and senior environmental analyst with the Suffolk County Health Department. And since somebody said something nice about me before, I was hesitant to get up here, but I'll do the best that I can. A couple of points, and largely related to process. I think what you've heard from people you pretty much knew coming in here. There's a concern about getting public water to people who need it, and there's a legitimate concern about people who see the potential for public water being an avenue for growth inducement, which everybody in Orient for many, many years has not wanted to see, and the board has obviously supported that through prior studies and so forth. So what do you do? There's a couple of things, and there's two ways to skin this, I think, and I'm going to, again, speak directly to process. One is you have proposed local law in front of you. It's subject to SECRA. It's probably an unlisted action. You all can move forward with that SECRA review process and decide whether or not it should be subject to a draft environmental impact statement. I think you probably have pretty good grounds for that, and one of the grounds that I would offer for you to consider is the very grounds of growth inducement, which is specifically listed in the law. One of the interesting things with SECRA, they have this handbook that comes out about every 15 years, and it used to be about 12 pages, and I found out this afternoon it's now 200 pages when I tried to print it out, but I did you a favor, I printed out a page. And one of the issues that they raise here is what is an example of growth inducement. And this is supposed to provide lead agencies with an opportunity to say whether you should or shouldn't do an environmental impact statement. Your counsel can obviously advise you more, but just listen to this line. It says, the following is an example of how actions may induce growth-related impacts. The extension of public utilities such as sewer and water into an agricultural area previously not served by these utilities may encourage non-farm development and undermine the area's agricultural base. And when I first heard about this project, one of the things that I did was to go and see whether or not there was this potential for growth inducement as I understood it. And I realized that if your eyes are like mine, you can't see all of this, but if you'll trust me, and I apologize for folks behind me, the map shows, based on the town's land use map, essentially all the yellow that you see are areas that are undeveloped. In many cases, those are on your list slated for acquisition or protection. And what I've done is I've gone through and figured out the acreage. And you come up with, and these conservatively about 240 acres, could be a bit more, of large undivided parcels that have a direct connection to 25. They're right on the road, which means that if the pipeline comes across that road, you are entitled to tap into it as anybody else would be. Now, that's all fine. The concern is whether or not that promotes someone coming to you and asking for something that you otherwise would not have them asking for, and whether your comprehensive plan is in strong enough shape with a good basis and determination that provides all of the relevant boards with sufficient ammunition to say no if they ought to say no. And that's really what this is all about. As somebody said before, it's about sequencing. And if you do an environmental impact statement on your own accord as the lead agency. Now, you may be challenged, and maybe the Water Authority will say they're doing their own, and but you got to figure all that out. Bottom line is, somebody should be doing an environmental impact statement. That impact statement should look at need. It should assess potential impacts. It should look at mitigation measures, and some of those mitigation measures may be things that you want to incorporate into your comprehensive plan. And essentially, you move forward with a pipeline when you know what the potential consequences are going to be, you know how you're going to mitigate those consequences, and you know what they mean going forward for your own comprehensive planning process. Now, if somebody argues about the time factor, I tried to find out today from the Congressman's office and other places what the time factor was on this grant to the Water Authority, and I don't know the answer. But that obviously could be a relevant issue that needs to be sorted out. There's another way to look at this as well, and the other way would be, on the town's own accord, you could impose a very specific moratorium on these, it's about 10 parcels, that would prohibit a change of zone until you get your comprehensive plan in shape and adopted, and the folks in Orient have confidence that basically what everybody wants to have as the future of Orient has the best chance of occurring. But at the end of the day, remember what the SECRA handbook says. This is the, I think, quintessential example of growth inducement, and you have every right to look at what the potential impacts could be before you take action, and you'd be doing a service to the community in the long run and not leaving some board down the road, who knows when, looking at a change of zone application and not being able to reach back and pull out a comprehensive plan that says, we want Orient to look a certain way for these 10 reasons, and just because there's public water is not reason enough to alter the zoning code. And by the way, I just want to point out, I realize that the board has turned down applications that have come before you, and that's great. There's always, boards come and go, things change, people make great arguments, they have good attorneys, who knows? Your best bet is to have as much in that comprehensive plan as you possibly can.
Just to answer that briefly, we did have the discussion about SECRA this morning at the work session. So that's an ongoing discussion that we are working on as far as the town doing SECRA.
Okay.
And you spoke about being a health department employee
Long time ago.
and about zone changes. It was only a couple of years ago that this board of well-intentioned, good people voted a zone change to put 22 units on 7 acres. And the health department approved the septic systems, and it was on a county-designated special groundwater protection area. So whatever kind of plans you have in place sometimes don't always work out.